been calculated for the regression?
So why don't we collect all the questions and then we can, so does anybody else have a question? Do you have another question?
I'll have other questions,
Okay, go
yes.
ahead.
Okay. Has there been a confidence interval constructed? Would be one. Two, I understand that the regression was done in the aggregate. Was there any effort made or to look at how the what the regressions or differences might be in each of the 189 cells, which is how I understand that the calculation works from, rather than the aggregate figure. I assume that there were a number of communications between the board and RailLink. Are those communications, any record of them available to the public? Was any effort made to filter out or eliminate the outliers that were referred to? Was any effort made, rather than going with a regression going back to 1990 and bringing it further, to find some way to calculate 2014 and 2015 on an identical basis? Rather than making a regression going back from 1990 and bringing it forward to 2014, was any effort made or consideration given to calculating the 2014 and the 2015 data in a similar fashion, or what Dr. Brennan referred to as an apples-to-apples basis directly?
Could you repeat the question? For clarification, do you mean did we try to do it in a similar manner to back in February, or did you mean did we try a different time period?
Post-February, was an effort made or consideration given to calculating the 2004, calculating output for 2014 and 2015 using the same methodology, rather than, I guess, what's the prediction of what 2015 would have been from the other methodology? And I guess I should reframe it in projecting 2015. Was any consideration given to calculating it on the basis of each 189, each of the 189 cells, rather than for an aggregate ton mileage figure, which is what I understand that the regression does? And I think that's probably a good enough set. And thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, so we'll take a short break.
No, you stay right here. We're just going to go into the green room for a minute.
Like I said, I wasn't sure what the petition was.
Is what's stated there by definition, or? Right, yeah, that's what happened. Yesterday, eventually they, people instead of probably what you have to do is you have to go to the website, register it. At least for, I guess this is. Vice Chairman, I don't. So they can be priced higher. But I may be sick.
All right, sorry about that. You know, lawyers. All right, Robert, I'll try to answer all of your questions here. Your first question was about a confidence interval, and I would say that in Table D of our regression outputs as produced in the decision, all the information necessary to construct a confidence interval is there. It's really, really tight. We have a very good relationship here, adjusted R-squares of 0.987, so the p-value on the x variable is astonishingly high, so it's a very good point estimate of the data. Your second question was on the aggregates. Did we look at each of the 189 different buckets and try to calculate year-over-year changes for each of those buckets? And we made a modeling choice to do this with a linear regression on the aggregate basis. So yes, there's implicitly the assumption that each of those buckets behaves the same. And you're certainly free in your comments to bring us your thoughts on whether looking at all 189 buckets would have been a useful exercise and would have yielded a different result than the ones that we came up with here. You asked about communications we'd had with RailLink regarding the linking factor. I can assure you categorically there were none. And then you asked about whether we tried using the same methodology in previous years, and that was not possible because we don't have the 2015 data that would have been produced by ALK, nor do we have the 2014 data that would have been produced by the transponder data. So there was a need to create a link between those two, and that's what the regression equation attempts to step through. So we don't have an apples-to-apples comparison under the old methodology or the new methodology, which is why we are here with this linking factor approach. I think those were all of your questions. If there are any other questions or... Oh, the outlier question. And Fred, what was our answer to the outlier question?
That, with a database of that size, there are always going to be anomalies to try to deal with them as part of the process. They will, in the first place, the same way that you described it from change that we noticed that
And that particular anomaly does not affect the miles, and so it doesn't affect our productivity calculations.
So is there any screening done for outliers?
So yes, we do screen in our productivity calculations, and in the Waybill production, we have a number of screens that eliminate movements, and we know we don't cost them and they're not cost in the Waybill. So there are screening techniques we've used for a very long time to screen out various anomalies. The anomalies, I'm not sure I understand the nature. We have a large data set, so there's going to be 660,000 records. Some of them will, particularly now that we're using transponder data, will take routes different from what you'd previously expected to see using the old methodology. We have screens in those. Those are all described in the carload Waybill reference guide. We have some of those methodology screens listed in there, I think. So I don't really see, on a large data set, I don't think anomalies just get washed out by the law of large numbers. Yep. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming by, and I hope that the people streaming this live on the internet found it useful as well.
Thanks. We look forward to your comments.